Good morning, everyone. We got a bunch of studio photo submissions. It was a lot of fun doing my little studio tour. I said this before, but it wasn't the studio tour I wanted to make, but it was the one I was able to make. And it feels good just getting that all out there. Yeah, having a good day so far. My GoPro's working today. Maybe. It was for a second. Let's see. Hey, it's still working. Yeah, and you can see Beans is up there, sleeping. Trying to sleep. What kind of keyboard is that? Linear switches. What kind of keyboard is this? This is a Razer Black Widow TE Chroma with yellow switches, Razer yellow switches. They're very strange switches, actually. It's mechanical switches, but as silent as can be, and they have the lightest touch. So there's like a weak spot and then like a normal key press without a click after that. Only that first section is needed to actually type. And I got it just because it's quiet, essentially. I'm gonna end the poll. Is cable management overrated? 93% of you said no. No, it's not overrated. I don't know what to think about it. Really, I think it's important. But also, I imagine myself on my deathbed, my final words, I should have cable managed, and then I die. We're gonna do a little segment here called
Behold my stuff.
I got a new guitar. Yeah, so this is a Jackson something or other. It's my first guitar with a floating bridge, and it is interesting, fun. I really like the look of it. It's a whole new experience, the floating bridge. What does a floating bridge offer? Okay, so if you think about like a Fender Strat, the bridge rests on the body of the guitar, and there's springs that you can pull against with the vibrato arm, and you can lower the pitch. Come on. First annoying part of this. And so with a floating bridge, it's supposed to provide very good tuning stability when you're doing dive bombs and pitch drops and stuff like that. So, oh, come on. Something's really weird with this right now. The part where this screws in is loose in the bridge. I can't quite easily tighten it right now because the whole thing is spinning. Technical difficulties. Thanks for calling it properly vibrato var. Yeah, so the thing with tremolo arms or vibrato arms is they're often called the wrong thing. So Leo Fender called it a tremolo, even though the effect you achieve is vibrato. But what does he know? He only invented it. Is it hard to look at your upper monitor, neck pain? I don't spend a lot of time looking at it. I'm just looking at the chat most of the time or checking the framing of the video. I don't work off the second monitor. It's not as bad as the dual setup I had before. Okay, so going back to the floating bridge part, the strings lock here. There's always equal tension from the strings and the springs on the inside. To actually adjust tuning, there's these little screws at the top, little set screws. And the strings are actually like not bolted in, but like tightened here at the bridge. So this bridge is always floating, which allows you to pull up or down on it and change the pitch. With it, you can do some really cool tricks that it's not really possible on a Strat. You can do lots of weird things. The amp sim I'm using here is called Goblin. This is a free one, very high gain, but it sounds pretty cool. And I've got this small room reverberator JS plugin. I should put a gate in here. So you can like pre-bend. You can pull up. That's the main thing. You can pull up where normal tremolos on like a Strat, you can't. It's fun with harmonics, but I'm going to put it away now. I just wanted to, show this off. I've talked about how I've wanted a lime green guitar for a while, and yeah, I got one, and it's pretty cool. Besides just showing it off, also curious if any of you guys have floating bridge guitars, if you have any tips, because I know that restringing the guitar it's completely different, all those other things. I'm going to need to change strings on it pretty soon. It's still like the original strings on it, and that's a whole new thing for me. I know that I need to like put a shim underneath the bridge to make sure that it doesn't slam down and into the body of it when it loses tension from the strings. It's weird to me to have to cut the strings before putting them on. And you have to get the tension between the strings and the springs perfect so that it sits flat. Just tuning up the guitar with those little set screws is very strange to me at this point. I'm sure it'll become more natural, but like, if you go through the process of tuning a guitar normally, like starting with the E string and going up to the high E, as you adjust one, all the others fall out of tune. So it's like over and over and over, you got to adjust it, and then you run out of space on the set screws. So I've heard that you do the low E, then the high E, and then you go towards the middle. I'm actually thinking of doing one of the middle strings first and then working my way out. And I've done that sort of strategy on other guitars before, not with the locking nut and floating bridge, but I think that's something that I will experiment with and figure out the best way to do it. Obviously, you want to be able to tune the guitar easily. Tune the guitar up completely, stretch the strings up and down their length until it stays in pitch, set the set screws kind of halfway through the travel, then clamp the nut. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Then you have up and down tuning latitude available after you clamp the nut. Yeah, so I think I messed that up the first time I went to tune it, where I loosened the nut clamps and kind of started tuning it like normal, but I didn't reset the screws at the bottom. There is a product, Shred Neck Trem Block. I was actually going to ask about this. I've seen lots of versions of this. You could find these on AliExpress. You can find these on Amazon from a bunch of different brands. I don't want to spend almost $20 for this piece of plastic, but I understand that, anyone that I've seen online restringing uses a thing like this, which just makes it faster. This will hold it in place so that you can take the strings off without things going flying, and you can easier access things. I also see people put in like batteries, skateboard bushings, credit cards. This seems nice and convenient. Has felt on the bottom so you won't scratch your finish. Yeah, and I've seen others. Here's one that's $15. Strangely, this is not a floating bridge in this photo, so it doesn't need to be used there, but okay. Do I ever use other DAWs aside from Reaper? No, I do not. Used to use Pro Tools. Before that, I used FL Studio. I have at times used Cubase, Logic, Reason, Ableton, and Sonar. I dabbled with all of those, but Reaper was the only one that really wanted me to stick with it. I watched some Rick Beato stuff with Kirk Hammett and John Pertucci. They talk about guitars and no clue what that's all about. That's funny. So that guitar's fun. It's some new techniques to play with, but it's pretty comfortable. It's sort of a different neck shape than I'm used to with the Telecasters that I have, or the Les Paul style. Slightly wider and thinner. The strings on it don't feel that great. So not sure. I'll probably go with like light slinkies or something like that. Thanks for the tips, Chris. I appreciate it. Next quick topic. As you may know, when I'm editing my videos, I'm constantly using the Heda loudness graph. This script allows you to see an LUFS measurement with different targets for high and low, different tracks, or just the master, whatever you need. But this script requires a third-party software to run, a special metering plugin, which is free, but it has this requirement, and as that thing gets updated and moved to legacy category and stuff, this script has stopped working over the years. I've probably been using this for, I don't know, I want to say 10 years, this loudness graph script. It's amazing. I don't want to mix a podcast or a video without it. But there's a new way, and it's time for me to stop using this old script. And so Heda Mixer has a loudness graph add-on, but the new loudness graph uses Reaper's own loudness meter plugin. So I switched it over today. I sent in a donation and I got my new VIP license from Heda, and I've installed the Heda Scripts Manager. So this is similar to Repack essentially, but it's just from one script maker. And you can just select whatever script you want to install and do it there. So there's the manager, that's this window. There is the mixer graph add-on and the mixer itself. From here, you can see if it's installed or not. You can uninstall it. You can update it as updates come out. So a lot of these are like add-ons, and it'll say in the icon. You can essentially get this for free, but I would recommend $5, $10 donation. He does great work. The mixer is essentially just an alternate version of Reaper's mixer, but because it's a script, it can do more things. So let's open up Heda Mixer. Here's the mixer view. And if we select all the tracks, then we can see them here. As audio plays in here, there's like waveform views and stuff like that. There's a ton of options for, let's enable waveforms. Let's enable panning controls. So all the elements on here are configurable. Icons, different colors for the fader caps. And I believe each individual track, if we just select one, there's different layouts and fader colors and things like that. Pretty customizable. And it automatically shows you based on like what you click on in Reaper's mixer or a range view. And this allows you to have one docked mixer or a mixer that only shows certain tracks. So if we like, let's say we want all of these, I don't know, let's get 8 tracks here, tracks 1 to 8. We want to keep these in the mix. We're going to hit this plus button. And we'll do new tab, and let's go to all tracks, and we'll click new tab. And so tab 1 has just the first 8 tracks, and tab 2 has all tracks. And I believe each one can have different settings and things like that. So once we have a group, we can add in the loudness plugin. I think we just click on that, and that adds in loudness plugin. And then on the, can't quite see that, but there's a little loudness meter button here, and that brings up the loudness meter, and we'll see the loudness for the tracks. So let's get some audio in here. Let's just let's grab a little drum loop. And there's our loudness graph. That's essentially it. It's a new way of using the loudness graph, and it integrates with the Heda Mixer. I did waste about an hour this week trying to get it working, and I had to ask for help because I don't think this is really well documented, and I'm not saying I'm doing a good job documenting it either, but the number one thing that messed me up with getting this working in the first place was not clicking the plus button to lock the tracks into a view in the mixer. So when there's no tabs here, it just doesn't work. Delete tab and delete tab. Yes, so there's no tabs. I play this, even though I've got this on master, only master. I've got the loudness meter in the monitoring effects. It should be all getting through there, but it doesn't until you make a tab here. So it doesn't matter if you have a track selected. It's not going to work. We can hit this new MCP tab, and that's just all tracks, like a shortcut for all tracks. And that works. And here you can see the waveform on the mixer. So if you like this mixer view as an alternative to Reaper's mixer view, I think it's super cool. You can dock this, you can have it floating. There's just a ton of options for this mixer as an alternative to Reaper's, or just having like all of your receive tracks on its own mixer, or all making sure that your vocal level or whatever, some certain thing can just be visible all the time. I think you can even have multiple instances. I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can have multiple instances of the script. So before we move on, I will give you a link to the Heda scripts, and I should probably look at the chat a bit. Not used to the waveforms going bottom to top, so used to left to right. Yeah, I first saw that sort of view on FL Studio's mixer, which I liked. I don't know if I would use it all that much. If you had the metering set to post fader, and you had the track down, but you still had the waveform view to had metering post fader and waveforms to pre-fader, then you could see if there's audio coming into the track and then compare that with the meter level. I don't know if that's really helpful, but I usually work on a view like this where there's half the screen is the mixer and half is the arrange view, primarily so that I can see when there's audio coming up or not. But when there's the waveform view, you can kind of see that already. It's a nice extra. I think in general, the faders are a little too narrow. I have no idea how they work with the control surface or anything like that. I'm very new to using the mixer. It's been around for many years, but the main reason for me to switch to this is that this is getting updates. This has the excellent loudness graph built in. And so, yeah. Audio Sound Doctor, how long we have to wait for Reaper 7? I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be like this month. I don't know if there's going to be any more Reaper 6 updates. They're working hard on it. I think they're on version 9 of the pre-releases, but it's not release candidate status yet. So it's going to be a little bit longer. Very likely this year. Probably, next month, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so the other thing you might notice about my layout here is that I'm using a different theme. Over the past week, ReaperTips published their new custom theme, which, just in time for it to be obsolete, but it's a pretty cool theme nonetheless. Reaper 7's coming out, but this theme just came out this week, and I think it looks very nice. So he's worked very hard on this, I'm sure, and he has a couple videos on his second channel. So the ReaperTips theme from Alejandro, who I've known for many, many years. He just updated. I actually don't have the update, so I will probably have to get that if it's not emailed to me already. I haven't even opened up the MIDI editor yet. But yeah, it looks super slick. Somewhere between like a Logic theme and, I don't know, maybe something more minimal. And there are two layouts for this as well. So one, like there's two versions of the theme. One has the TCP effects and send section below, and one has them over here on this area. I guess I could just load that. Theme, Mac, TCP right side, and there we go. That's what that looks like. So if you like to have a wide TCP so that you can see all the buttons and all the stuff like that, more like the, Pro Tools used to have, or does have, columns on the right side of the TCP, or what do they call them? But I think I'm going to go with the other one with the things there. I think that's how I like it. Okay, so related to that, there are a couple videos on his second channel, which ReaperTips doesn't link to his second channel. It's a bit annoying. It calls it ReaperTips Low Effort. So he's got 2 videos, how to customize any Reaper theme. It's about 20 minutes long, and he's got an hour-long video, how I made a Reaper theme in-depth walkthrough. So check out Alejandro's second channel for details on customizing Reaper themes and stuff like that. Let's talk about Reaper also has a showcase on this theme, so I'm not gonna, that's why I'm not really covering this in too much detail. But check out Mike's video. Let's give it a like. Any questions about anything? Well, yeah, let's do some Q&A. Probably answered this in the past stream, but what are the diffusion panels behind you and what are you lighting them with? Always appreciated how they look. Art diffusers from Acoustics First. I'm the probably 3rd owner of them. They are hard plastic sort of material, and they are filled with expanding foam. They've been repainted a few times, and the lights are just smart bulbs. The brand is Casa, or pretty cheap on Amazon. And I just sort of go for a warm incandescent look. Those 8 panels would probably be $1,200 or so. I got them for, I think, $300. Looking at them up close, you'll see like paint chipped and cracks and stuff like that. But I think on camera, they do look pretty good. In the past, I lit them with different RGB lights and stuff. So I can change the colors pretty easily here. These are not particularly high intensity bulbs. I forget what you call it. How do you measure light? I've totally messed up the look of this, but I'm adjusting this all from my phone. Lumen, lux, lumens, I would guess. I was going to say lux, but I know there is a difference. Candela, yeah. They're not super intense light bulbs. They're just like 60 watt equivalent, and I run them at like 40% usually. Where my key light is 150 watts and I run it at like 10% usually. Have I tried an artist mix as a control surface? They're a little limited, but the screens and form factor are so nice. I have not. They're too expensive and I wouldn't want my money to go to Avid. So that's the main thing. I actually hate Avid more than Behringer. So Behringer stuff has, you know, it's cheap. They knock off or steal ideas from companies big and small, but at the end of the day, it's still good value for the money. Everything I've had from Behringer has worked well, very well for the price. So why do I hate Avid? Just because when I was one of their customers, they would constantly justify why they couldn't do certain features and that it was better that they didn't. And then maybe a year later, they would do that thing anyways. ACO drivers was a problem. Multi-core processors was a problem. When I first got into Pro Tools, I had to set my Windows XP, I forget what it's called, Affinity or something like that, so that it would run as a single core processor for that app. And I had to do that like for 6 months. Every time I open up Pro Tools, I have to open up Task Manager, set it to a single core. So I can use dual core processor for like, I don't know, 6 months or a year or something stupid. Yeah, ACO drivers were always a problem. The can't use VSTs, can't do 32-bit float, can't do faster than real-time bounce, can't use any audio interface you want. So I was spending a lot of money and dealing with all these limitations and things like that. And like, it was just annoying because I was spending a lot of money for Pro Tools and it wasn't really that stable. I was just constantly annoyed by it. And Reaper was essentially, it saved my life. Reaper just saved my life because it just made things so much easier. Oh yeah, going back to the Avid artist mix, they do work with Reaper using using CSI. Do you know why the Media Explorer has a routing button like tracks, and what is the use case for wanting it to be different from the master routing? Okay, good question. The Media Explorer right here in this thing, by default, it should be like this, playing through the main output. It doesn't go through the master, it doesn't go through the mixer, it just goes to your main output, which is fine. But there are times you want to listen to something in context of the mix. So if you're, let's say I want to, I'm going to put in a drum beat here and or something, and I want to hear it through this filter. I don't know what the sound is. So that's not filtered. And if I go to this option, go to play through first track named Media Explorer Preview or first select a track. Now if I preview this, stop. That effect is applied to that thing, and you can hear it more in context of the mix. So you can name a track specifically Media Explorer Preview. And so even if this track isn't selected, let's just filter it. Even though this track's not selected, where is it coming out? Yeah, it's coming out of this track. This effect was on the wrong track. So you can hear that that's actually filtered by that effect, by the effect. And whatever I preview in here will go through there. So that could be as simple as having a filter on it, having metering on it, having compression, or just a volume adjustment so that you don't have to go to this little volume control here. Yeah, it's just easier to hear things in context. You can also choose a different output completely. But yeah, play through first track named Media Explorer Preview or first select a track, I think is a good option to have if you want to hear things in context. Otherwise, just put it back onto one of the main outputs. But that is the only way to play through the mixer. The metronome also has a certain a thing similar to that, where you can play through a certain output or play it through monitoring effects or not. Also somewhat useful, but I'd rather set up a special click track for that. Going to do a quick look at the audio news stuff. A few months ago, people were making lots of videos on this Donner B1. They just released a firmware update. New song mode, 16 patterns with seamless transitions. Total step count is 256. Process of editing steps has been improved. Smart save indicator has been introduced, which illuminates the save button to alert users of unsaved changes. They fixed the known bugs and improved the editing. So if you don't know about this, this is a TB303 clone, essentially, but in a box that doesn't look like a TB303. Venus Theory got one, but I don't think he did a video on it. A bunch of people, a bunch of synth YouTube people made videos on it, and some liked it, some didn't. It had some bugs, it had some limitations, but it's cool that they fixed this. It's such a low-cost product, and if all the bugs are fixed, it's probably definitely worth checking out. Donner, you know, it may be not the most reputable company yet. They do a lot of clones and knockoffs and things like that, but this is sort of a unique, almost original. It's still a TB303, but it's something that doesn't look exactly the same. Like, look at this versus Behringer 303. In silver, this looks identical to the actual Roland one. but these are essentially the same sort of product. The Donner one, to me, is a lot more appealing than this one. That said, Behringer does have a basically like a circuit bent version of these that they sell for not much more, which is kind of appealing. I found that kind of interesting. They could have easily just not fixed the bugs and released some other product, but it seems like they are actually interested in listening to their customers and improving. So that's cool. I put in an order at Temu.com for this cable sleeve stuff. So I'm going to try to clean up my cable mess a little bit with this stuff. It's definitely a struggle that I have because so many things have to go across the desk, or the power goes one way and the USB goes another, and then the audio goes another way. So it's a mess, but there are a lot of things that I could probably clean up with that. So I don't know about this company, Temu. Like, if you look at the products, it's generally like dollar store sorts of plastic junk, or like the knockoff stuff. And there's some like counterfeit products on this company. I don't know if I trust them, but it's cheap. And if it's the exact same product as Amazon and it's free shipping, I'm going to go with this company just to see. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe I get a very terrible product. Maybe it's actually half decent. And then at least I'm not paying $18 for something that I could just spend $4 on. This plastic sleeve thing. On Amazon, it's pretty expensive, and that's why I haven't bought it. Let's just look at CA. Let's do cable wrap, I think it's called. It's $12, 3 times more expensive. I get free shipping because I pay for Prime. If it's the exact same thing, then I'm glad that I got this. And I just have to wait a little bit longer for shipping. And it should be here next week. So we'll see. I forget why I was talking about that. Oh, cable management. I think cable management is overrated, but you got to do a little bit at least. Yeah, let's see what else is in the news. Royer Labs reveal FlexBar dual mic mount. Interesting. Oh, that's pretty cool. The FlexBar's moving arms offer a more versatile mounting solution than many alternative stereo bars. That's cool. It's $200, but it's pretty cool. So it mounts to the stand here, and then there's like a high leverage clamp there. You can have 2 mics at any angle. It's still probably going to have the issue of, with a lot of stereo mics or stereo bar setups, you always have this problem with if it's not perfectly flat or vertical, that one of the mics will always loosen on you. I don't think any of them ever like reverse thread. And so if it's at an angle and one of the mics is like this, just the weight of the mic can like droop it. That's a problem on my Shure stereo bar and any of the other ones that I've tried. And it's not a problem of the hinge here, but it's just the threading here. The weight of the mic will loosen that. And sometimes this extra washer doesn't solve that problem. It's not $200 cool. Yeah, for sure. That's a new design for a stereo bar I have not seen. What's his name?
A lot of you out there are throwing your money away.
Hey, Kelly, thank you so much. The cable sleeve wrap looks interesting. Micro Center sells large 1-inch heat shrink that I've used for audio snakes. Might work for cable management. Yeah, the sleeve thing is ideal because you can have cables come out at any point in the thing. But making your own snakes with heat shrink, definitely a great idea. LOLCOMP. Weaver Beats did a review of LOLCOMP, which seems like an April Fool's joke, but it's an actual product, and they actually want like, I don't know, $150 or something like that. That's going to be a pass from me for sure. watch his video. He's pretty cynical, but it looks and sounds pretty bad. The Mixing Night plugin from Ken Lewis looks ridiculous, but it's a good plugin. It doesn't seem like it's made for professionals. It seems like it's made for children. One sec, I'll get an expert. I'm still on stream, but I need your feedback on this. Look at this picture. Would you use that plugin?
No.
Is it for professionals or is that for children?
Babies.
For babies? There you go. So it's for babies. Expert confirmed. This is for babies. This is not for professional audio engineers. I'm still staring at it and I'm like, I don't understand why they went with this control scheme. It definitely gets people talking about it, but I don't think it's like good things, and it makes me not want to use it. Like there are silly looking plugins like Endless Smile or Sausage Fattener. Sausage Fattener, I actually like the plugin. I think it's ridiculous. It's their website sucks. It's ridiculous. It makes you laugh, but I guess it's just simple enough and works well enough that it's okay. This doesn't cross the line for me where this one does. So I don't know. It seems like a lottery scratch off. Yeah, so that was Oscar. That he's 10 years old, so he's an expert on baby things. Monoprice launched a 1073 style preamp. Interesting. Monoprice is a company I haven't thought about in quite a while. The last product I bought from Monoprice was a set of electrostatic headphones, and they broke on me in 24 hours. They're like they're kind of weird. They're probably discontinued. They're like this style of headphones, but they were earbuds at the same time. Kind of weird. I was super excited to try them. They weren't particularly cheap, and they kind of sounded good for the first half day, and then they broke, and I couldn't get them working at all. But yeah, I've got too many sets of headphones. Anyways, that company, I didn't know that they were still making new products. I didn't know that they had like a studio line, but this is interesting. So Stage Right is their product range for studio stuff. So 1073 preamp, it's a Neve style preamp. It's not yet released. Does that look good? Does that look bad? What I've got is the Golden Age Pre-73, the original one, and it's pretty decent. It's really good. These are like a $300 roughly colorful mic preamp. Lots of gain. Looks like the Mark II is actually got a much better controls setup. It used to have like, or the one I have has different like mic and line settings, and there's like an off position, and it's just all kind of weird to use. But I should actually plug this in and use it again. We're just going to do this a couple more minutes. Hum Audio, never heard of them. I mean, analog consoles just look cool. I don't know if I'm ever going to buy an analog console like this. There's so many like workflow compromises that you have to make, but they just look cool. I would probably get like the SSL one. What's that called? Big Six? That one I'm tempted by. I thought there was another one, but I don't pay attention to this stuff well enough to know all the different products. USB microphone. Huh. Weird. Never saw that before. And what was that other thing? UF8. Great looking controller. I know there's some Reaper users using that right now. Love the look of it. But yeah, the Big Six is a interface, console, mic preamp, stereo compressor. Yeah, G-Series bus compressor built in. So yeah, for low latency monitoring through SSL, EQ, and possibly compression built in. Yeah, there's a compressor built in. I don't think there's a gate on this one. So it's a simplified E-Series compressor or G-Series compressor channel strip. So there's a channel compressor. There is the 3-band SSL EQ, and then the master track or master channel has a bus compressor. Mix bus inject for cascading additional 6 or Big 6. If I was to open up a studio where I was getting local people to come in, this is something that I would consider as part of that new setup to attract clients. For my own setup, just to make videos for you guys, I don't think I'm gonna bother. But yeah, there's something appealing about analog consoles, even though that I'm not gonna use it most likely all that much. This won't simplify my setup in any way. It's definitely not gonna make it more ergonomic, but I still kind of want it. Let's check Sweetwater. $2,700 US. Yeah, I mean, for my purposes, I may as well just get a Behringer desk if it has all the similar functions. Honestly, like an X32 is probably like the best value in a mixing console for in terms of like what features, being able to use it as an audio interface, all those sorts of things. It's one of the best bang for buck consoles you can get. Okay, so this is a Fireface 802FS. What is the connection? USB? 60 channels of analog and digital I/O, ultra low latency. This is $2,300 US as well. So this is again not budget friendly here. One of the things that always drove me crazy about using RME interfaces was like the front panel jacks weren't like input 1, they would be like input 6 or something like that. And it ended up being the ones we used most often. So every time we make a new track, we've got to go down and change it to track 6. This was using RME Fireface 400 on a PC running Cubase at the time. But yeah, I can't tell if that's how they're set up these days. These first 4 preamps, I don't know if that's the first 4 inputs. I see there's 8 line inputs, but are these channels 9 and up or what? I have a bit of bad experience with RME, with the RME Babyface. I really don't like any interface that doesn't have analog controls for preamps and headphones. This has this one dial that controls your monitor level, your headphone level, your input level. Twice within a few minutes of using it, I was playing back a click track from Reaper, and I was talking into an SM7B, and I thought I was turning up the mic volume, but I ended up turning up the headphone volume. It just blasted my ears so hard that they were ringing, and a couple minutes later, I did it again. It shouldn't be that easy to accidentally turn up the wrong output or input, because if I did that to someone that was paying me for singing, or they came to me wanting to record vocals and I did that to them, the session would be over. I would lose money. I wouldn't work with that person again. That's why I will never use something that has some sort of non-analog output. The M Audio Profire 2626 has some analog and digital things, and that would sometimes glitch the main output level, an analog control for a digital thing. And sometimes that would glitch and output full scale. So what I would do instead was run that into a monitor controller, always sending that full scale. And then I had an analog control that would prevent it from couldn't output higher than where I had already set it. Rant over, that's the RME thing. I would never want to do that. John Matthews, hey, how's it going? What are we looking for today? Not much. You have an X-Touch 1 for control. I wouldn't really consider that a monitor controller. And again, that's controlling everything digitally. You'd be controlling Reaper for your monitor level, but that would also affect your rendered output level. So you wouldn't want to do that too much. My audio interface, it is a digitally controlled speaker level, but the headphone outs and the mic preamps are separate knobs and they're analog. Yeah, I hear great things about RME for stability, and I keep looking at their products, and there's always something that's like, okay, that's a weird layout, or that's just a little bit too expensive, or like, why did they put that in but not this? And yeah, I've looked at their stuff several times. I would consider not the baby face, not the Matty face, maybe the UCX. Yeah, like I don't care about the metering and stuff like this. That's not helpful for me. ADA in out, USB connection, MIDI ports, and there's a couple inputs. Oh, what this is lacking is an analog knob for volume. So this would require a monitor controller because I wouldn't trust the headphones on that. It seems like most people, once they go with RME, they never go back. I haven't been impressed by the sound of them and like shootouts and stuff like that. They never like sounded better than others to me. I enjoyed the sound of Apogee converters, but they were very flaky. So I don't know. UMC has 2 analog output for headphones and master output. If they are on, let's say UFX2, if they're on a analog volume control, then I'd be interested. Like this looks like a better layout for an interface for me, but this is what, $3,000 or something like that. So maybe not in the budget. I think we're going to end here. I'm getting pretty hungry and I got to pee, so may as well wrap it up. RT, you've got an upgraded RME. That sounds cool. Oh, a Steinberg interface. Yeah, the Steinberg interface is pretty cool. You do miss out on some of the special Cubase features, but that's cool. Yeah, so we're still looking for studio photos. If you've got some studio photos, you want to share it for an upcoming live stream. We've got another like 28 streams this year. We'll be doing it again. Thanks again to everyone that submitted photos today. Check out the Heda Mixer and Loudness graph extension. ReaperTips theme is very cool. Check it out. Or next week, I don't know what the topic is, but yeah, suggest something. I'm happy to do community suggestions. This stream is here for you, not for me. So yeah, appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you.